Hello crafty friends, welcome to part 4 of my Rainbow of Happiness workshop series. In this video I'm going to share some watercoloring techniques, and I'm sorry my other phone keeps making noises. Let me go turn that off real quick. Okay, I had to turn off the notifications because it goes bing bing bing, very annoying. Alright, so anyway, and you can just imagine I get like 100 messages a day. I can't even keep up with them all. All right, so what I want to do is I want to do this today, and I want to say Happy Valentine's Day to everybody too, as well. And I was going to go live and do this yesterday, and then I did a Facebook Live yesterday, and then everyone's like, it's the Super Bowl. And I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot it was the Super Bowl. And so people were watching the Super Bowl yesterday, so now this is why I'm doing this now. My goal is to get this entire workshop series completed this month. Now, let me just kind of go over the bigger picture here. We're going to be using watercolor pencils. Okay, these are watercolor pencils. I have a bunch of really fun colors picked out. Okay, those of you that signed up for my workshop series know that I recommended getting the watercolor pencil assortments. This is the original one. I'm not sure if it still comes in this box. I think it does. Yeah, actually I think it does. And then this is the assortment too. So I'm using colors from both assortments because they coordinate with different colors from the Rainbow of Happiness or Sunshine and Rainbows Designer Series paper. I'm also using what's called aqua painters. Of course, you can use paintbrushes too. What's nice about aqua painters is you can fill them with water. Okay, and then but also, like, in the process of filling them with water, I can't run back and forth to my sink while I'm doing this. So I'm going to share some other things like filling little cups of water and just dipping into them. That's another option for watercolor. Okay, some other things I want to talk about are different watercolor papers and how you can watercolor right onto these little boxes. Okay, we're not going to do that part right now. We're going to do this part. We're doing these kinds of techniques. I want to explain how when you watercolor onto certain paper and it becomes warped, you can reduce that warping by then embossing it. So we're going to be doing some embossing, and I'm going to be using these dies that are part of the Rainbow of Happiness collection. Now, unfortunately, they're not available right now, but it does say February 28th they'll be back in. Those of you that signed up for the course or the workshop series with the kit, I know you probably ordered this already. So we'll be using this die, and we'll even use this die a little bit. We'll die cut some watercolor paper. And then we're going to be doing some embossing. Okay, and embossing means I'm going to use an embossing folder. And let me move this die out of the way. The embossing folder I'm using is this gingham embossing folder. So you can get all your materials ready. So what I thought I would do first is just kind of go over some techniques. Let's move these off to the side. Okay, I have a silicone mat in there. Maybe put these off so you can still kind of look at them up there a little bit, and I can get them. Hopefully I won't splash them too much. All right, so the idea behind this card is it's really fun. We're going to talk about the two kinds of watercolor paper. This are two kinds of medium you would color onto. What I'm going to do is I'm going to watercolor a piece, and then we're going to cut it out. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it the size we need it, which is going to be a layer. We're going to make this piece right here 5 1/4 by 4 inches, right, of watercolor paper. Then what we're going to do, we're not going to die cut it and then color it. We're going to color it and then die cut it. Then I have two cards in one. I have the background for this card, and I have the inside of this card. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to start with that so it can dry, and then I'm going to teach you how to watercolor on another kind of paper called the Shimmery white paper. Okay, so I'll explain the two papers. Then we'll do this one, let it dry. Okay, and that's how we're going to go from there. So we're going to take, here are the two things you would watercolor onto. So if you already have these watercolor pencils and you have some aqua painters, or, you know, like I said, you can use paintbrushes, you would want to be watercoloring on these medium. So we have the watercolor paper, and you all have this in your kit. And I told you you would all get a piece of this in your kit. So take that piece out. It's in the bag with the gold boxes with all of your surprises. That's where this piece of paper is. It's not in the cardstock pack. It was in your bag of paper. So this is the fluid watercolor paper. It's very thick, and it does even warp. Believe it or not, even though it's watercolor paper, whenever you put water on paper, it's going to warp a bit. Now this is shimmery white cardstock. So this is another thing to color onto. Okay, now let me show you the difference between that and this. This is basic white cardstock. Look at the color. It's off-white. Same thickness, right? But this has better ink absorption, and it has some like glitter in it. Okay. So let me now, let's see. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way. So what we're going to do is let's cut this piece we need first. Not the die cut part. Let's just cut this piece we need. So let me get out the trimmer. And let's see what size this is across. It's not 5 1/4 across. It's only 5 across. So I'm going to have to do the 5 1/4 going this way. Okay? We want this to be 5 1/4 by 4 inches. Okay, you don't want to cut something when it's wet. So you want to cut it now. And this is the same measurements I'm doing all the time, right? So this is 5 1/4, right? Because the card is an A2 card. So the card is 5 1/2, right? Actually 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. So therefore, your layer is 1/4 inch smaller than that. Just look up A2 card and layering. And I do this all the time. So I know it's a repeat, but I still like, okay. And then I still like to kind of start at the beginning. So now, kind of looking at this as a guide and just kind of seeing what I used here. So I would say I used some grape, gorgeous grape here in the corner. And actually, what did I, maybe some up here, I used some. Oh, actually, in both of these corners, I probably used this one, Granny Apple Green. So we're going to just kind of just follow along with the guide of what I did. So these are watercolor pencils, and you just sort of color like this. And you can leave it like that. I mean, they're fine just like that. You don't even have to, I mean, you don't have to add water, right? That's the beauty of watercolor pencils. You can use them to just color in stamped images. I'm going to put some down here too. This is Granny Apple Green. But it's magical when you add water to it, to watercolor pencils. Okay, so there's a couple ways to color with watercolor pencils, and we'll be doing this again in my next workshop series, which is going to be based on abstract beauty. And you'll be able to add on some pencils and some water painters to your kits. I haven't even opened up the registration yet. Let's find this watercolor painter. It's weird. I just had everything all prepared. Here it is. Here it is. All right. So these watercolor painters are filled with water, and I'm going to open them up. And so there's water on the brush, right? But it's not really coming out that much. But you can squeeze it until it comes. It even says squeeze. It says push, right? You can push it. And water, see how water gets in the chamber, but not too much. What's really nice about these water painters is it controls, you can see the water coming down, it controls how much water comes out of the chamber when you use this. As opposed to, see that? You want a little bit of water coming out of the chamber, you're squeezing it, and I put water inside here that's, just with the, okay, and just filled it in the sink. Now look at this magic. Now like I said, watercoloring is fun with just using the pencils, but look at the magic when you blend the watercolor pencil with water. So one way to watercolor is just to add water to your colored pencils. And then another way is you can add water to the tip of your colored pencil. And you can then color like that. So let me show you like a line of doing that. So you can learn another technique, and then I'll get on to the next color. Actually, I'll probably put all the colors on dry first and then just wet them all at once. But so let me show you another technique. So you have, and look at this difference. This is Granny Apple Green, but of course everything's lighter in watercolors. Even though it's called Granny Apple Green, you know the Granny Apple Green from the paper is definitely a darker shade of Granny Apple Green than this one. But it is still going to be a coordinating color. It's a hue or a shade of Granny Apple Green. So what you could do when you're watercoloring, another technique is you can go like this. You can either dip the watercolor pencil right into water, or you can color your aqua painter with your watercolor pencil like this, and you could just draw onto your paper. So isn't that cool? So that's another technique. So this is how to color stamped images. However, when you're coloring stamped images, you don't want to stamp. See this technique? This is a fun technique. But I'm going to go ahead and go back to the other technique I was using. I just wanted to teach you that. You could just dip right into your colored pencil. One of the things that I want to talk about is like I use Memento black ink all the time. It's a hybrid ink for coloring with alcohol markers, which are blends. But when you're coloring with watercolors, you want to use StazOn ink. StazOn ink is a more permanent ink. So that's the kind of ink you want to use. Okay, so that's what we have so far. And I'm going to go ahead and do the dry parts now and then do the wet parts in a minute. So you take this and you're going to clean it off I just have a piece of paper over here and I'm just kind of cleaning off or you could dip it into, dip it in the water, just clean it off. And don't worry that it gets stained. It's going to get stained. All right, so now let's leave that there for a second and let's do the other colors. So I have a gorgeous grape going on and I'm going to do the dry parts. It's easier to do all the dry parts first. I was just doing that to teach you. Okay, and then let's get some pumpkin pie, which kind of ends up looking like pale papaya. That was gorgeous grape. We're going to do pumpkin pie. When you color it in, it ends up looking like pale papaya, and that's why I used a pale papaya background on this card, because my pumpkin pie didn't end up looking like pumpkin pie, right? It ends up looking like pale papaya. It's a lot lighter for that card. So we're going to use some of this. Like I said, these are more solid. All right, what else did we use over here? I used one of the yellow, here, I used this one, which would have been a Daffodil Delight. When you're doing a project, it's good to kind of look up what you use. I mean, not look up, put them all in a little bucket, all your little watercolor pencils that you use, so that way you can use them again and you kind of figure out which colors you used for your projects. Okay, and then I use some kind of blue. Let's see, I used one of these two. Coastal Cabana or Bermuda Bay. Actually, I used them both, didn't I? I used them both. We might not get to use them both. I think I'm running out of space here, but let's use one of these. This would be Bermuda Bay. But it's a rainbow card, right? Yeah, we're just going to use one. We'll use one of them. We'll use Bermuda Bay because they look very much alike when you watercolor them anyway. You could sharpen these pencils, but don't sharpen them when they're wet. Like you sharpen them with the pencil sharpener, but they even make watercolor pencil sharpeners. I don't think we sell them, but you can sharpen them when they're dry. I don't have to sharpen them much. Not very often. All right, and then we're going to just go ahead and use one of the pinks here. Let's see which one I used. I think I'm using Flirty Flamingo. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm going to use Flirty Flamingo because Flirty Flamingo is a color that's part of the, this one does need to be sharpened. It's part of the Designer Series paper, one of the colors in the paper. So I chose these colors to go with my projects and the Designer Series paper. All right, so I found it was a lot easier to just dry color and then wet them all at once. Okay, put these pencils over here. Let's go ahead and start watercoloring. And then we have my little bucket of water. I'll probably run out of the one inside the aqua painter, so I'm just going to get myself a little extra bucket of water if I need it. Right, so let's start with the light. Let's do the light one on the inside. Just watch it transform. It's just so relaxing. It just transforms as you add the water. I'm starting with the lighter color so that way I can blend in with the colors next to it. It won't matter. But because this paper does absorb, it doesn't blend as much as the blending brushes, which I'll show you. Okay. Now I just give it a little squeeze once in a while where the button says push. It doesn't really help you to squeeze where it doesn't say push. It doesn't seem like nothing comes out. So I use just where it says push. And that's where I squeeze. So let's see what these are called. These are actual name of these. Water painters. I keep calling them aqua painters because we used to have aqua painters. I'm using this one and not the larger one. I hardly ever use the larger one for anything, but the small one for sure. Definitely use the small one too. The medium one just seems to work fine for me. So water painters. We used to have these blue ones called aqua painters, which I actually, truth be told, I prefer those because they just, they release the water a little bit differently. I don't know how I can't explain, but either way, this is what we have and this is what I have. And I don't even know what happened to my old blue ones. So it is what it is. And then you just each time clean it off. I'm using just a piece of, this is a piece of parchment paper under there, like a piece of wax paper, or I just kind of wipe it off on my paper. Okay, squeeze it out. When you first squeeze, you try not to get, you don't want to get too much paper right on your paper, right? That first drop. So get that off on your hand or off on something else, because you don't want to just put a big drop of water on your paper. Okay, and then as you need more ink, you keep using your pencils on there. All right, I see you guys chatting, which is awesome. All right. Got some night owls here, huh? All my videos are recorded, so I know you can always watch them later, but sometimes I just have to go live when I'm ready to go live, because all of my materials are out. And they've been out since yesterday, and then of course I hope they're still out, because then I might have, oh, I need to use this, I need to use that. And like right now I can't find my Simply Scored. I hope I find it during this video. It has to be somewhere. I was like gonna make a card all the way, and I was like, because I don't know what I did with some of the stuff. So when you prepare your videos, you actually have to go through, even though you've already done the project a lot of times, you actually have to go through this checklist in your, not just a mental checklist, but a checklist. And then you have to get all your materials and kind of recreate the card in your head before you go live. And then of course you're going to always have to go reach for things. So I'm still using that same watercolor painter. See, I'm still using that same one, right? Look at that. Look at that. That's when I squeezed out the water. Look how much better. Look. It can blend in with the one color next to it. It's fine. A little bit of blending with the color next to it's fine. But I was just trying to go for sort of a line of coloring. Now what I'm doing is I'm squeezing as I go this time. Squeezing as I go. I was just letting you know about squeezing that initial dropout, but now I'm squeezing as I go. And it makes it a little faster. So you can imagine how relaxing this is. And if you guys look at that paper, it's called the New Horizons Designer Series paper. That paper is all watercolored by our, oops, that one's not good. I should have not mixed them too much. That one's all done by our concept artist in watercoloring techniques. So they have like, what? The best job in the world. Being a concept artist for Stampin' Up. Maybe it's not the best job in the world. I think I have a better job. Because I don't have to craft in an office. But they do have a great job. They do a wonderful job making the designs for our Designer Series paper. Wait till you see the ones they made with the new wave paper. They were pouring like buckets of paint on it. All right. Nice, nice, nice. All right, I think I just have one more. I think this one down here. Oh, I should have cleaned it off a little bit. All right, it is what it is. Let's just keep going. Get that initial drop out. So my paper is transformed. Now it needs to dry, just a couple minutes. It doesn't take long to dry because it is, after all, watercolor paper. So we're not going to see the inside of this. We're not really going to see it at all. We're only going to see a little bit because we're making these rainbows. But the edges kind of matter because the edges are going to be a frame for something. So I want to go around the edges. The edges are going to be a frame for the other card. So I do want to make sure that there's a little color on all the edges, because we have the 1/4 inch going on with that card there. So this one needs a little bit more color, see? A little bit color on the edges. Just dip your watercolor pencil in there. Speckle it, speckle it. I think it's called speckling. Gosh, I sometimes forget what terms I use. Yeah, I'm just kind of getting a little color in there in the edges, making sure there's color. And that one needs a little bit of color. Get that little yellow in there. Daffodil Delight. Get in there, Daffodil Delight. Okay, so good. So I'm happy with this card now. It's a little wet, so letting it dry just a couple minutes before we emboss it. You can use what's that called? The thingy, the embossing, the heat embosser. All right. Let's see who we have here. So it's like, don't be like, her videos are so boring, it's like watching paint dry. You better not be saying that. No. Hi, Yvonne. Hi, Gloria. Pamela. Melissa. Janet. Diane. Elaine. Sandy. Yeah, well, it depends on a guillotine. Okay, you're talking about guillotines and not that kind of guillotine. We're talking about a paper trimmer is better for making cards, definitely. But when you have workshops and you're trying to cut whole stacks of designer series paper and trying to cut a lot of paper at once and trying to cut thick paper like our specialty papers, a guillotine is a good one. I have a rotary one made by Carl. I have a rotary for my workshops for cutting giant pieces of really thick things for my workshops. But anyway, my Stampin' trimmer is best for cards. It's much more exacting. All right, do we say hi to Melissa? We did. I hope we got everybody. Oh, there's some more of you guys down here. I see you guys having conversations. Good. Sandy and hello, Pat. All right, what I want to do next is blend a background for you. Let's put this over here. This one's not wet. This is a piece, it's a silicone mat. I'm going to take these little things and I'm going to put those in my little basket here. I have a basket somewhere. Well, we'll just move them off. And what I want to do is take some of this. I'm going to take some regular paper. Okay, what you're seeing right now, regular paper. This is just basic white cardstock. Sticking it on here. We're doing this while the watercolors are drying. Okay, I want to get blending brushes, and we're going to do a background of Pool Party. Let's see what's going on with this. One of these will be Pool Party and one will be Night and Navy. I guess it don't matter which one I use for what. So when you blend, you're going to open up your ink. We got Pool Party ink. What we're doing right now, just so you know, is we're blending this background. We're going to make this background using blending brushes on regular paper. Okay, once again, regular paper, not watercolor paper. And we're going to open up Night and Navy. So I like to take my stamping blocks and I like to put ink on stamping blocks. So let's take, just to control the ink, so I know how much ink is on something. Let's just get any, I don't think either blending brush has, we'll just use this one. It doesn't really matter, right? Look how dark that is. That's why I like to control how much ink is on there. We're going to tap, tap, tap. Look at that first blob that comes out. Now, keep in mind that when you're going to be able to cover up, well, not really cover up, but you can cover up like mistakes in this area and up here, but kind of we're putting a rainbow in front of it, so it's like, you want to get that blob off so that it blends evenly. Okay? And it's kind of dark already, so that's fine though. Hopefully the rainbow will cover that little piece there. Actually, you can turn it over. Let me make it a little bit lighter. Let me turn it over. Let me turn it over and see if I can't get that a little bit lighter. Yeah, that's more my style. I didn't want it to be too dark. I don't like those big blobs of ink. Those big blobs of ink are hard to cover up. Okay, so this is Night of Navy. It's very, very dark color for blending, and you can see why I don't just dip right into the ink pad. If I did, I'd have these big blobs all over my paper, and I want it to be smoother. A smoother background. So if you mess up, you just turn your paper over. No big deal. I use Night of Navy a lot when I'm doing what's called the Northern Lights technique to make the dark skies. All right, I'm liking it. That's cool. Let's see if I can't do the Pool Party next. Let's see if I can. I'm going to get this a little bit more even on the bottom. And then I'm going to go for the Pool Party, and then we'll blend the two colors in between. Okay, we'll get back to that color. Let's do the Pool Party at the top. Let's get another stamping block. And we're going to put some Pool Party ink on the stamping block. We're going to tap, tap, tap onto our paper. And we're going to get in there. And we're going to blend the Pool Party. Okay, circular motions with your blending brush. Need some more ink because I've been using Pool Party a lot. You know, it's like the color I tell you all the time. If you're just going to get a few colors, you got to have Pool Party. I talk about that with blends. I use Pool Party all the time. Okay, so we have a cool little effect going on with the white in between, which would look cool, except that we're putting this light color of paper on it. So we need this part to be colored in too. So we'll blend the two colors together. So first I'm going to get in there I'm going to do some more Pool Party, and then we'll get in there with Night of Navy at the end and blend the two colors together in the middle. So you're laying on your colors. You're laying it on thick, as they say. Lay it on thick. There's hardly any on this. I think I might be able to get through it with just this. Let me put that off to the side. I think I'm good with the Pool Party now. I'm happy with it, and then what I'm going to do is just blend. I'm going to get in there with the Night of Navy and get rid of that white part by blending the two colors together. And we have a card background for our rainbow, which should be dry by now. All right, I'm happy with it. We'll get a little bit of color over there. Here, get a little color going on the side. Let's put this off to the side. We're good with this background. And we need to get rid of this for a moment. Let's get rid of this tray. I'm going to put this down here because we might need it again later. Now we're going to take our die cutting machine. We're going to open it up. This is our Stampin' Cut and Emboss. Our watercolor should be dry enough now. But I found that it's, okay, I found that we're going to put the plate number 1. Okay, plate number 1. Let's move this up so you can really see it. This is what's called a sandwich, a die cutting sandwich. I'm moving my tripod up. Okay, so we have plate number 1, and then we don't need the thin die adapter just yet. Take this plate number 2 out because we're going to emboss for a moment. Put plate number 3 in, and another plate number 3 for the top. So you're going to take your embossing folder. Okay, this should be dry enough. Well, what I find is this paper warps a little. The reason see how it warps when you color it? See the warping? Let me turn this to the side. I don't like warping, and it's hard to glue down things when they warp. I found that embossing watercolor paper gets rid of the warping. It really is a cool technique. So you're just going to put that in the embossing folder. This is called the gingham embossing folder. So we're watercoloring, and now we're embossing our watercolor paper. Now that it's dry, we're putting it down here. The top of the sandwich would be another plate number 3. Okay, so you just need the 2 cutting plates. You don't need that middle, you don't need that thin die adapter. You only need that for the actual thin die, which we're going to do in a minute. Okay, so emboss first, and then cut out your rainbow. Okay, emboss first. Check out this cool embossing. Look at that. So we have this really cool texture going on. Now we're going to cut our rainbow out of this. It's important to leave enough room so that this becomes the border of our other card. So we're going to put that in there. I'm going to show you what I mean. We're going to put down, the sandwich is actually here. Let me go back and make the sandwich on this side. Plate number 1. You got your plate number 2. That's your thin die adapter. When you use thin dies, you need plate number 2. You need a plate number 3. And now you need to put your piece of paper down that's embossed. Remember, emboss first. Put it down, but then, let me move this over. When you make this rainbow, okay, see, we're trying to make a rainbow like this. We're trying to make an embossed watercolored rainbow for our really cool background we made. Do you understand? We want to make sure this rainbow, it doesn't matter, right? This one doesn't matter, but we want to take this, we want to use this as a card background. So what matters is that when we make, that we're not making a rainbow die cut down here on my paper, Okay, we're making a rainbow die cut somewhere in the middle of the paper, which I'm then going to cover up with this piece of In Good Taste Designer Series paper. Okay, hope that makes sense. I'm putting this right here to leave myself enough room. Here, let's move that around. I'm leaving myself enough room so that this has a good background. So it's like a 2-for-1. You're getting a 2-for-1 bonus here. Not only do you have a cool watercolor background for your card, but you have a cool watercolor rainbow that you're going to be able to use for the card that we just blended the background of. So we're making 2 cards out of 1. And while we're here, we're going to die cut something else. But let's just do this part first. Let me show you this part first. Is that cool or what? Well, here, no, this one. Are these cool or what? Look at these. We have embossed watercolored rainbow pieces. Okay? So I just thought that was a fun design, and that's why I wanted to share lots of techniques. So we'll put that card together in a moment. But let's keep this out, and what we're going to do is take a piece of Shimmery white cardstock. This is Shimmery white. Right? Shimmery white cardstock. There's the product number, 101910. This is kind of like a must-have. Real good ink absorption. And we're just going to take a little piece of stain there. They're going to take our piece of Shimmery white and this rainbow. And I'm grabbing like a dull pair of scissors. Don't use your like nice paper snips. Get an old dull pair of scissors, right? So not dull pair. I mean a pair that's not your really expensive paper snips. They're not expensive. They're only like $10. But I'm just using like cheapo scissors for this. And I'm just going to do this. I'm just cutting myself a little piece out, right? Of Shimmery white because I don't want to waste it. But I want to die cut out a rainbow in Shimmery white. Okay, let's put this down. Same thing, plate number 1, 2, 3, and we're die cutting out a rainbow. And then if you want, let's see what else is in here. Here, we can do this. We can take, just while you're here, I mean, never waste a good little pump through the machine, right? So just go ahead and stick a cloud there, maybe a cloud. I mean, if you can fit them. Here, put a couple clouds there, just to make some shimmery clouds. Only because we're going through there anyway, and you don't want to don't waste a good little crank through the die cut machine. All right, so where's our top of our sandwich? Where is the top of plate number 3? Oh, here it is. It's on the bottom of my machine. It's like, how did it get under there? So here we go. You don't need tape or anything because you're only just trying to, well, you might need tape if you think it's going to move. But I think it's all going to stay there. So I'm confident it'll stay there. I don't need tape. I'm not that worried about my clouds moving because they're just extra clouds. But although we can use them on our card. Okay, I'm cranking through. Shimmery white. Remember, what we did earlier was watercolor paper. If you came late, this is Shimmery white. These are both mediums on which to watercolor. This is a Stampin' die cut and emboss machine. Yes, Sandy. It is similar to the Big Shot. We used to have the Big Shot. When Stampin' Up! Used to sell the Big Shot. Now we have our own brand. See? But it's still made, I think in the end, Sizzix, the company, I think they make our dies anyway because, let me look on the die real quick. Let me just look here. Even though we make our own machines now, check this out. On the die, where is it at? Oh, you can't see it on this one. Some of the dies say Sizzix still. The company. It doesn't matter. I mean, whether or not we have partnerships with companies, our machine is awesome. It's designed for stampers, by stampers. I mean, this thing was prototyped galore. It's a very good machine. Now, if you already have a Big Shot, of course, you can use our plates. You can use our plates with your Big Shot. That was if you have that, right? Use our cutting plates. All right, I think I'm done with that. I'm done with this. I'm putting everything back in here. What we need to do now is get my tray back up here. This one's already dry and it's ready to assemble, but I need to do this one now so it dries, right? Because we're doing watercoloring. When you watercolor, you have to let things dry. So let's bring up my thing here. So we're gonna bring up my little tray and get rid of the ink. We've already done our background we need for the other card. Now we're gonna put these down. Well, actually, here, let's get rid of this. We can get rid of this one. Put that over here. I'm just using a wax paper inside my little tray just to keep it from getting too stained. Okay, Shimmery white. I've already got ink on it, so that'll determine what color that's going to be. All right, let's put these down. Okay, I have to find my card as the sample here for this one. This one was shimmery white. You can even see the glitter in there. Yep, that's going to be the blue one anyway. That's good, because I want that to be the blue one, because I got blue ink on it. All right, so what we need to do is we're going to color these with watercolor pencils. Let's just use Bermuda Bay. I'm going to use the darkest. Hopefully I can get rid of that little stain there, but if not, that's where that sentiment can go, right on top of there. So to watercolor your shimmery white, you're just going to color them in and color over them. So one thing you could do ahead of time is cut out a bunch of die cut a bunch of pieces, and then you can watercolor them later. You can even color them in like this and add the water later when you're ready. These shouldn't really warp that much because they have good ink absorption and because we're using aqua painters. But if they start warping, use my little trick that I showed you earlier about the trick being emboss things. If things warp, when you emboss them, they won't warp so much. Okay, squeezing out with the little, I'm going on the push, I'm getting that drop. And this one needs a lot more ink. Yep, it needs a lot more ink. You can color it while it's wet. Color some more ink in there. Look at that blending in there. Oh, nice. When it's wet, you can get a lot more color on there. Da, da, da. I'm just going to go ahead and wet it and put a lot more ink on there. Okay, we'll start putting the other cards together. I was just trying to show you how I made that other card, and then just to kind of show you that I used a shimmery white. If it starts getting really streaky, then just start dipping in the water. Get a little more water in there. This one it's very fibrous compared to the water. Now, when you use the watercolor paper, it sort of rolls off of it. This one it starts kind of like, I don't want to say peeling. There's a lot more cotton in this paper, or it's like a cottony finish. So you end up with like some little bit of peeling going on because I got it so wet. A little bit of peeling and warping. But I think what I did is why I used Wink of Stella while it was still a little wet. And that sort of helped me get them really glimmery. So it wasn't just the shimmer from the shimmery white cardstock. It was the fact that I also used Wink of Stella on these while they were a little wet, and then that got them really shimmery. So that is how I made that other card there. And my my Wink of Stella, grabbing that. Okay, I had to go grab the Wink of Stella. Let's see. Even while it was wet, it didn't really matter. I just squeezed out some glitter, and it really seemed to make it like my rainbows really shine, and that ended up being nice. Kind of mixed it in there. Or I might have used my Pool Party Wink of Stella that was already colored a little bit. I'm just adding glitter. But depending on what I'm going to be coloring these later, and depending on if they get sort of warped, I'm just going to go ahead and dip straight in the water too. Dip that one straight in the water. I need a little bit of water over there. Now, as you can see, just from what I'm doing, this paper is not as good to color on as watercolor paper, but it is made for watercoloring, and when you use StazOn ink and you're just coloring a stamp, that's fine. But when you're coloring over and over again, like I am, like adding layer and layer after color, the paper does sort of peel. See what I'm doing? I'm mixing watercolors with the Wink of Stella. Cool technique, right? I didn't even add water this time. I just put the water pencil down. I'm adding glitter right on top of the water pencil. It's like adding water, except I don't know what's in my glitter. I don't know what's in my Wink of Stella. Maybe alcohol, I don't know. I don't know what kind of magical stuff is in here, but it's like, instead of adding water, I'm adding glitter to my watercolor pencil. So this one was the Bermuda Bay watercolor pencil. All right, super fun, and you can see how later on that turns into these glittery watercolored things. And then I could do the clouds, right? I can do the clouds we just did with there's some Coastal Cabana. A little bit of, just add a little bit of color tone. We don't have watercolor pencils in every color. So I just, Coastal Cabana, when it's light, kind of looks like Pool Party, which is the same way as, making the clouds out of. So they are your watercolor clouds with a little bit of Coastal Cabana, a little bit of water, and a little bit of Wink of Stella. And then you just keep going and you do all that. So that's that card. So let's go back to the first card. That is drying. I'll show you what that looks like a little bit later. Dry, maybe I will, if it looks different. Let's go back and build this other card. We're going to go back to this card here and build it. We're going to get the pieces that are all dry. And you can use glue, or you can use your rolling adhesive like your seal. I'm going to grab glue. Because you want these to be right on the edge, so that's why I'm using the glue. Meaning right on the edge like that. You want the first one to be right on the edge. See how that fits perfectly? So you want to start with the small one. And then you work your way up to the big one. There's already an equidistant space because of the way the die cut is. I love die cuts like this because like you get a 2-for-1. Like I said, you cut this out of the middle. Oh, I put a lot of extra glue on there, didn't I? When you put that much extra glue, just wipe it off with your next piece. This is called our multi-purpose glue. It's getting on my nice table, so I have to get that out later with a baby wipe. Okay? Was that the second one? Nope, this is the second one. I don't know what's going on with my glue. There we go. I got it out. You don't need much, but like kind of spread it out with your finger. See, so people are going to wonder when you put the card together, oh, how'd they do that? There's all this like texture going on and color, and of course I'm getting stained on the things, but you have all the stuff going on this card. Texture, color, watercolor. It's just such a fun card. And then you're going to give it to someone and they're going to know you put a lot of effort into it. You blended the background with the pool party and the night in navy. You watercolored with the watercolor paper, watercolor pencils. Then you embossed with the gingham embossing folder. Then you have these equidistant spaces to make people wonder how'd they get the spacing and the coloring just like that. So all those extra details in card making, which takes your cards from just being amateur to professional. Okay, let's see. Put that there. And of course, no two cards are ever going to be alike, even the one I did earlier. It's not going to be the same as that one. Okay, we need a baby wipe because I think my hubby's getting mad at me. Even if it's Valentine's Day, he gets mad when I mess up these tables. And then I used this stuff the other day, like to clean this table. It was like a furniture polish, and then it had grease on it, and it got all over all my paper started absorbing all the grease from the furniture polish. And I had like grease dots on all my paper. All right, I hope oh wow, there's really dirty here. That might be the furniture polish I was using. Anyway, so there's the fun rainbow. All right, so now we have to look at, I just want to show you the cloud punch and then, just a couple things. See? I'm just seeing if I have a different kind of card I can use right now that would still sort of go with this. I think black looks best, but I'm just trying to see. This is, oh no, pool party, tone on tone. That's okay. We'll get a black card later. But what I wanted to show you is the cloud punch. Well, actually, I don't need to show you the cloud punch, but I just want to show you where I got these clouds from. Okay, so because I already have some clouds punched out. So what you could do, you can punch out the clouds with the cloud punch, of which I already have a few, and you can put a cloud in there, and then you can use some of the other clouds that you cut out from the dies to accent your clouds up there in the sky. Okay, way up in the sky. The big birdies fly. All right. I'm just looking for some clouds that I already have here because I'm doing a bingo event and I already had a bunch of clouds punched out. Let's see if I have that same cloud. Here, this cloud will look cute. We'll use that cloud. And then you make me happy. I think that would look a little better in white this time, so I'm going to try to do that in white. So we'll put a cloud there. And then we will stamp in white because if you stamp in that pool party, it just is a little bit darker, and I just think it'll look better stamped in white. So you want to take a 1/2 inch sheet, and you want to stamp it on a piece of basic white because I just think that'll come out better. So you can use Misty Moonlight, or in this case, I'm going to use Bermuda Bay. Actually, let's see if I already have one. I think I do. I already have one. You know what? We're just going to use this just to save time. So I already have one that's stitched, and I think that'll be fine. It's a stitch rectangle, and I already do that. So I'm just going to put that there. And you could put a little background. See, there's a little background piece of designer series paper, some extra clouds. I just want to kind of show you how I made this whole project. I think I put a couple extra clouds there, and like that. And I need to put it on a piece of basic black. See? I need to put on a piece of basic black like that. Which, like I said, I can't find my Simply Scored or my scoring tool right now, but you get the idea. But I do have my trimmer here. I want to show you the alternate card you can make with the opposite of that. So we're going to take a piece of, so that's that card. That's how to make it, plus extra little clouds, right? See how I made extra little clouds, colored them in? Those are the ones I cut earlier. Now let me show you something about, you're going to get a piece of In Good Taste Designer Series paper. I have that cut down. This is in your kit already. In Good Taste Designer Series paper. It's awesome paper. You can use any of the pieces of wood finish. Let's see how we had the wood finish going. We had it going vertically. So you're going to take a piece of this one. We already have this one. We already know this is the 4 inches by 5 1/4. So now we need to cover that up. So what we're going to do, we need to cover it up. So we need to go 1/4 inch smaller around each side. So we could go 4, we could go 3.7. Let's see if we went 3 1/2. I'm not sure if I went 3 1/2 here. If it could still cover up the rain. I think that's going to be, I think it'll work. We'll try it. If not, we'll get another piece and try it. Will that cover up the rainbow? And yes, it will. Okay, so we're going to go for a 1/2 inch smaller. We're going for 3 1/2 by 4.75 because we're going for a 1/2 inch smaller. And that should cover up the rainbow. See that? Perfect. Okay? See, that's how I did it. I did it 1/2 inch smaller. Just giving you that little tip. So you're making this so it covers up this. And you're going to use your Seal Plus. Thank you guys for reporting the spammers that came up earlier because I can't do anything when I'm so deep into crafting like this. Now you guys got my back. I think it's just a spam robot. All right, there we go. So I'm putting a little bit of rolling adhesive back there. Be careful because it'll get on the back of the card. Hold it up in the kind, I'm holding it up. I'm not doing this flat. I'm kind of holding it up to make sure I cover. I probably could have went another 1/4 inch smaller on this side. Oh no, I better not though. I'm just going to leave it like that. I did 4.75 by, so it was a 1/2 inch smaller. That's fine. All I'm basically doing is covering up the rainbow. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing down here. I'm just kind of getting in. Okay, there we go. What I'm doing is I'm just covering up the rainbow, and then I'm going to get a little piece of designer series paper, this one, and maybe 3 inches, 2.75. We'll try it. I'm going to try let me try 3 inches, but I think it's way smaller than that. Oh no, it's way smaller than that. 2.5, 2, I don't know. Sometimes I don't even take measurements. Let's try 2.5. 2.5? Nope, 2.25. We'll write it all down later. 2.25. Okay, let's see what this went up to. It went up to here. Whatever that was. I always do things at 1/4 inches, so it's probably, here we go, by 4. Okay, 2.25 by 4. You can put that on there. Okay, so you get the idea. So now we have 2 cards out of 1 card. And then we put that on a basic black background. Oops, I got this going. There's a little bit of adhesive in the back of there. Voila. And as you can see, you just keep layering and then just get some extra little pieces. Like this is a stitch rectangle. I'm just grabbing stuff out of my bucket of crafty goodness over here. Boom. It doesn't really matter. Here, there's a different, here, we can do this one. We can put one of these. I mean, I'm just grabbing things. I have a whole bucket of stuff already die cut out. But you make me happy. Put something in there. Put your little sentiment across there. Piece of black cardstock, which again, I can't find my Simply Scored right now. I don't know how you lose such a giant item in your house. And then you just kind of add your layers. I have this little bucket of crafty goodness to add all these different layers. You can add this piece with a little piece behind it. Okay, so what I like to do now is sort of clean up. Let's make sure I covered what I wanted to cover and then clean up and show you what we did in the other parts of this series so you can get an idea. But that's just the fun of it. Just get a bunch of extra stuff cut out, and then you have all kinds of extra little pieces for die cutting and for layering, and you can blend. This is a little piece of Flirty Flamingo with a little bit of Bermuda Bay with the sentiment there. All right, I'm just going to turn this one over for a second. I'm going to lay it like that so you can see it. All right, let's go over what we have done. So today we have covered, I should say, watercoloring techniques using watercolor pencils. And for this one, we used the fluid watercolor paper. We used the watercolor pencils, we let it dry, and then we embossed it with the gingham embossing folder. We blended the background using blending brushes. So you learned how to use the watercolor pencils, the aqua painters, and the blending brushes, all to make this a really fun background of your card. Then you can take it, and you can take these rainbow pieces, okay, and we can put them, let's look around here, because I know there's a card, which I modeled this whole thing after. Maybe it's upside down. There we go. There we go. I'm like, where's the card? I turned it upside down to use the back of the black part. Okay, so then you can take your cloud punch. You can do your sentiments. You can add some, these are called opal rounds, and you can color in your extra little clouds. Okay, so those are all the techniques you learned for this one. Watercoloring, embossing, blending your background, punching, layering, sentiments, etc. Okay, that's how to make that card. Then you could take the opposite. You can take the background of the card, die cut out the rainbow, use it on another card, add some layers of In Good Taste designer series paper. It's a nice wood grain finish. Add a piece of Sunshine and Rainbows, which is free with the celebration item. Okay, add some sentiments, add some brushed brass butterflies. That's these little guys. Okay, add those to your card. Beautiful, beautiful. You have lots going on. Put a little basic white on the inside. So that's how to do that one. And then I showed you some watercolor techniques using, let's go ahead. I said I would see if this one's dry. I said we can also watercolor onto the shimmery white paper. And here's some clouds that are dry now. You can put those clouds on your other projects. Last week we die cut some clouds using the little cotton and everything. So I also showed you how to use some Wink of Stella on your watercolor pencils and how you can just die cut and color onto those pieces. And then here's the example of that. I used a piece of pale papaya and just plain inside, and I watercolored each part of the rainbow, which I'll do. I'm going to go ahead and finish that project, but it's going to take a little while, and then I added Wink Castell. So you can see how these glimmer and shimmer, and this die has a little bit of a ridge in it. I didn't build that ridge. It's a part of the, it's sort of like an embossed die. So I really liked how that rainbow has a little ridge. Some opal rounds, some coloring, some blending. You make this world a better place. You make me happy. So that's another watercolor project. Then another thing you can do is cut out this rainbow, which is one of the dies. Add it to a piece of Misty Moonlight. And this is a rainbow, a watercolored rainbow. And you can, while the box is open and flat, this is a sweet little treat box, you can watercolor the entire box. Then you can watercolor the sides separately. I put You Make Me Happy on the side because it didn't fit on the top of the box. So this box would go sideways, even though it opens from the top. You can put your gift in sideways. So this is another idea of watercoloring, another example for you. Just watercolor right onto the box. But it is very hard to absorb the ink on here. So it's going to, look how streaky. It looks streaky because it's this paper does not have a good absorption finish. All right, so those are the projects we did today. I hope you understand how to completely make the cards that I showed you, even though we didn't do the black card base because we didn't get to that, but you got the idea. I hope you got the idea. Now, I'm going to lower this down a little bit and show you some projects that we have made in the other parts of the series. Thank you, Betty. What is your favorite size card? A2 card, right? A2 cards are my favorite. I mean, they're not my favorite. It's just that that's everything that goes with it. Smiley likes the new rainbow paper. I mean, it's just that the 5 1/4 by, or it's a 5 1/2, should be 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. It's when you get our cardstock, right? Here's our cardstock. I mean, it just goes that, it's just kind of natural. Here's the black cardstock. You take it out, you score it, you cut it, you get 2 cards out of it. It's 8 1/2 by 11. So then you get 2 cards out of each piece of cardstock. So it's a no-brainer. That's the one I make the most. I like other size cards, but why would I bother making them when I have to do, like, waste a piece of cardstock? When I make a 5 by 7 card, I can only get 1 out of a piece of cardstock, and then I waste the other part of the, I don't waste the other part of the cardstock. I use scraps. But you only get 1 card out of this. If I was to make all 5 by 7 cards, I'd waste a lot of cardstock. This is just a natural size to make. Plus our bags, our little clear envelopes that I'm going to show you now, like these. I'm going to show you what we made in the other parts of the series. The bags and everything, they're all made for, like, the clear envelopes are made for the size card, A2 cards. All right, let's show you some. Let's go into my bucket of crafty goodness. In part 1 of this series, we're on part 4 of the series. Part 1, we made the You Make Me Happy cloud card. Okay, in part 2 of the series, we did tag choppers, or treat toppers, with Skittles, which came in your kit. You got Skittles in your kit. We made these fun treat toppers with Skittles, rainbow Skittles. I thought of, you know, since they have that rainbow theme, that's why I thought of using those. And we also, in part 2, made some diaper fold treat pouches. This one has a little tea bag in it and a little Valentine treat. One of the special things about ordering my kits is somebody that ordered the kit, they get to be in the raffle. Like, if anybody ordered the kit, they get to be in my raffle. And my raffle is something from every single video of my series. So they're going to get, like, a card. They're going to get something from every video. So this was part 2. Diaper fold treat pouch, it's called. And then in part 3, we made these. These are called nail file boxes. I showed you how to make these in part 3 of this series. Okay, so part 4, we did watercoloring, showing you those projects. In the next video, we're going to do this little box, and it's going to hold the Mentos box. It's going to hold the Mentos, and we're going to cut some clouds out again from the cotton. We're going to create this box, which will hold the Mentos that came in your kit. You got some special candies for me, and 2 of them are going to fit in here. We're going to make this special box. Okay, let me show you some other things going on with the Rainbow of Happiness series. And my bingo of it's the last night to register for that, or last day. All right, Rainbow of Happiness series. There's so many other things you can do in this series. If you watch my brother ScanNCut tutorials, I showed you how to make shaker cards. We learned how to make these windows, and you learned how to make shaker cards with your ScanNCut. So this is another thing you can do with the Rainbow of Happiness. I'm still adding critters to these cards. I think I started adding some goats. Way to goat. So when they're not shaker cards, I was going to add critters. Here's another watercoloring technique. Maybe one day I'll explain how I made this, but this is not part of the series because it's kind of a really advanced technique. But maybe I'll do that different on my Ink It Up. Here's another shaker card, shaker card. Here's some cards I did on YouTube in my Ink It Up series, where I showed you how to stamp these rainbows. All right, what I want to show you is this one I did on my Celebration Card Club, so it's on the YouTube. Right now, there's a Rainbow of Happiness playlist, and I put my Celebration Card Club tutorial, this card here, the one I did in Celebration Card Club. I put this on my YouTube series. I mean, in my playlist for this video. Then check this out. We're going to have a bingo, and it's the last day to sign up. Well, actually, tomorrow's the last day to sign up. And if you're in my newsletter, you got invited to the bingo. I didn't put it on YouTube. It's not in the description of my videos, but it's definitely in my VIP group, and it's also in my newsletter group. But if you want to be on the newsletter, you can. It's just that I'm not advertising it on YouTube. Okay, this is one of the cards we're making in the VIP Rainbow of Happiness Stamping Bingo. Here's another one we're making. And then in between rounds of stamping, we're just going to be doing the stamping part and assembling part because you get everything you need in your kits. And then in the bingo, we're going to play bingo on Zoom on March 4th, Eastern Time, 7 to 9 Eastern Time. 4 rounds of bingo, 3 rounds, and then a blackout bingo. And then there's big prizes for each one, like a bundle, like really cool prizes. So these are things we're making in the bingo, and then we're also making this project in the bingo. We're just, like I said, we're just doing the stamping part because I can't send you, I'm not allowed to send you stamped images as per Stampin' Up! Regulation. All right, but what I thought to show you would be fun is some new projects I'm working on. I'm working on some new slimline cards. You Are Really Fabulous is the some new slim dies. I'm using slimline cards and embossing for this. So I'm just showing you some projects I'm working on. Isn't this fun? So these are all slimline cards. I started working on, here's some pieces. I'm using the reverse of some of the, so these are all, I'm going to be doing Rainbow of Happiness slimline cards with these. Probably, at least I'm using the Rainbow of Happiness colors. Colors from this, but these are definitely the color. Like this is Pool Party and Magenta Madness, and this is Magenta Madness and Granny Apple Green, and this is Pool Party and Magenta Madness. I haven't shown these yet on YouTube yet because they're not all finished, but I'm working on slimline cards. I'm working on the next project too for your last part of the series. So definitely get a hold of these celebration items. You know, these are only available, here's another card, during the month of February. February 28th celebration is over. Okay, so if you want to get this paper for free, Sunshine and Rainbows Designer Series paper, you can get it for free when you purchase $50 at my Stampin' Up! Store. It's so versatile. It's so fun. I mean, you could do so much with this paper. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and some sneak peeks at other projects I'll be sharing in other kinds of related tutorials on my YouTube channel during the month of February. Let me see if I got to say hi to all you guys. Betty, Sandy, favorite size card. I answered that question. Smiley. Hello, Deborah, or Lee. I should say, call you Lee. Keep forgetting to call you Lee. Okay. Thank you, Sandy. Yes, the Big Shot is the same, Sandy, but it doesn't fold up like this is more, that other machine I showed you folds up nicely. And everything we make is made for it, so everything works with it. And it's they warranty it or guarantee it or whatever it's called. And there's great tech support when you purchase our machines, unlike getting them from like Joe Schmo, like you somewhere or something, you get no tech support. Yeah, it fits in tight spaces, Pamela said. Okay, good. I'm glad you guys are having a Big Shot conversation. I love you guys. You guys are all answering each other's questions and having conversations about products, and I don't have to like see everything because you guys got it all covered. A lot of demonstrators in this group watching. All right, well, thank you all for watching. This is the Papered Chef, and we'll see you again real soon.